Over the years, globalization has advanced many postmodernized countries around the world. During this video, we'll provide a case study on a mythical developing country named Globeria that is desperately seeking advice from more developed countries on how to grow their interconnectedness. Our hope is that this case study will provide you with a better understanding of the effect that globalization plays on developing countries in the real world. The country has historically been isolated and is struggling to develop economically. Their goal is to reach a higher standard of living for their citizens. They asked developed countries around the globe on how they can complete this goal and if they can give them some advice. The general advice they received is, you need to expand your interconnectedness with other countries in order to achieve your goal of a higher standard of living for your citizens. The country produces its own goods and is almost completely self-reliant for just about every good the country uses. They are an agrarian society and therefore depend on their own natural resources. However, they would like to move up to the secondary sector. They are trying to implement a successful education system with the goal of raising their citizens out of poverty. This will successfully allow them to gain the knowledge and skill set required for a high-paying job, which will in turn raise their nation's overall economy and GDP. They are in a very precarious position, and if they do not change and establish how to grow, their citizens will unfortunately continue to suffer. Globeria received 4 main pieces of advice from the Developed Countries Committee. The first piece of advice was for trade. The first country that they spoke with explained the concept of comparative advantage, which is when a nation specializes in a good or product with the lowest opportunity cost. Because they are mainly self-reliant on their own agricultural goods and natural resources, they decided to specialize in making corn crops. Their next recommendation was to join a regional trade agreement in order to facilitate trade. Because they are a less developed country, joining a regional trade agreement will give them trading partners and lower the barriers to trade, which will allow them to be more interconnected. The second piece of advice was for bettering the economy. They want to switch their country to a floating currency in order to grow their exports, because then their floating currency will be devalued relative to other nations' currencies, which will make their exports much cheaper. The third piece of advice was for improving their labor force. Their country currently has a high birth rate, a low life expectancy, and a high population growth rate. This results that the country's population is just young. Accessibility to better health care will lead to an increase in the labor force participation rate because healthy people are more productive. The last piece of advice was of course for advancing technology. The last country they spoke with emphasized that technology is a key aspect of economic growth, and it is linked to higher production. The use of technology will also increase their interconnectedness with other countries. They are planning on readjusting their government budget to buy and implement technology for some of their industries in order to increase production and efficiency. This will reduce costs of production in the long run. Over time, as they become adjusted, their government will fund research and development as well as enforce intellectual property rights in order to stimulate innovation. Overall, we have learned from this case study that if we implement this advice from these countries, over time and gradually, we'll see an economic development, thus increasing the standard of living for their citizens. Overall, this real-world example provides us with a better understanding of why globalization is important. The integration of economies caused by globalization can result in a nation increasing its exports, technological advancements, and diversity. We hope that globalization continues to better the life for citizens for many more years to come. Thank you.